Exercise 9 is gross anatomy of the muscular system. For this exercise, your objectives are as follows. Identify various skeletal muscles and groups on models or illustrations, and for a few specific joints, identify the muscles that move those joints and identify their origins and insertions. I'm going to prepare you to achieve these learning objectives by discussing first how muscles are named and giving you some study hints as to how to study these muscles and how to study their origins, insertions, and how they move the various joints. I want to start by talking about how muscles are named, because I believe that if you understand how muscles are named, it'll make it easier for you to learn the names of the various muscles and their groups. Muscles typically have two names. They can have one, they can have more than two, but typically they have two names, and those names are very descriptive in some way. They can refer to the type of movement that the muscle is responsible for. They can refer to a location, shape of the muscle, size of the muscle, direction of muscle fibers, number of origins, or location of the origin and insertion. As you study the muscles, you're going to run into terms like maximus, minimus, longus. These are terms that refer to the size of the muscle. For example, gluteus maximus. It's the largest muscle in the gluteal region. There's also a gluteus medius and there's a gluteus minimus. They are the middle-sized and smallest muscles in the gluteal region. Your rectus abdominis muscles and your oblique muscles are two examples of muscles that are named by the direction of their fibers. Your rectus abdominis muscles are your six-pack, which is actually an eight-pack. You have, it's actually two long muscles, one on either side of the midline that extend all the way from the inferior cage here and xiphoid process all the way down to the pubic bones. Your rectus abdominis, it's in the abdominal region. Rectus means straight, and these fibers are straight up and down or vertical, so that's where it gets its name. Oblique means diagonal. Your oblique muscles, and you've got two groups. You've got your external obliques, and then deep to that you have your internal obliques. They both are diagonal. The external obliques run like a right side up V, and the internals, which are deeper, run like a upside down V. But both the rectus abdominis as well as the oblique muscles are named for the direction of the muscle fibers. Some muscles are named after nearby bones, such as the case for several of the bones of the head, such as the frontalis, the temporalis, and the occipitalis, which are named after the frontal, temporal, and occipital bones, respectively. In some muscles, the number of origins are used in naming the muscles. For example, your biceps brachii, let's break that name down. Biceps, bi meaning two heads. A head is essentially an origin. The biceps has two origins. Here's one and here's another. It's in the brachial region, so that's where it gets its second name, biceps brachii. I like to think of the biceps brachii as the two-headed monster of the brachial region. How many heads do you think the triceps has? If you said 3, that is correct. In some cases, muscles are named for their origins and insertions, such as the situation with the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Now, if we break sternocleidomastoid down, sterno refers to its origin, which is the sternum. Cleido refers also to its origin, which is the medial portion of the clavicle, and mastoid refers to its insertion. So the sternocleidomastoid is this muscle here. It's very easy to find on your own body, so you can palpate it very easily by turning your head to either side. You can see the origin here on the manubrium of the sternum and the medial portion of the clavicle, sternocleido, and then it extends to insert on the mastoid process, which is just posterior to the ear. Sternocleidomastoid. Some muscles are named after their general shape. Such is the case with the deltoid muscle. The deltoid muscle is in the deltoid region and it rounds out your shoulder. If we were to remove the deltoid muscle and flatten it out, you'd see that it roughly outlines a triangle. And delta is a triangle, and that's where it gets its name. A couple of other muscles to mention would be the trapezius, which is on the posterior side of the body trunk, and it roughly is shaped like a trapezoid. And the rhomboids look very much like a rhombus, for which they are named. Now that you have a good understanding on how muscles are named, use that knowledge as you study and learn the names of the muscles. Rather than just trying to memorize their names, understand that their names are very descriptive, and if you can relate their names to the movements they create, where they're located, their shape, their size, the direction of their muscle fibers, and information about their origins and insertions, it can help you learn these muscles and learn them quickly. As you study and learn the muscles on both images and models, be aware of dissections. Some muscles are deeper than others, so you could be looking at the same part of the body on a muscle model or on an image, but you are observing two totally different muscles. For example, here is the external oblique, as it is also shown here. We have a dissection, and what you're looking at here underneath the external oblique is the internal oblique. And then deep to that is another muscle called the transverse abdominis. They're all in the same general area, but they're at different depths. On the model on the right, notice that the left side of the body, or at least part of the torso, is dissected relative to the right side of the body. So here you're looking at the pectoralis major, here you're looking at the pectoralis minor. Here we're looking at the external oblique, here we're looking at the internal oblique. So just make sure that you keep that in mind as you are learning and identifying muscles from the models and the images.